Hello and welcome to the 2022 R-League season launch programme. I'm Ross and there's lots to look forward to and lots of guests to introduce you to too. We'll be here with Simon Johnson, the chair of the RFL, to chat through a really big season ahead for Rugby League, and he'll be joined by Head of Media at Betfred, Mark Pearson. And we'll be looking ahead to the Championship season, which kicks off this weekend, and of course as the first Monday night live game on Premier Sports between York City Knights and Featherstone Rovers. Jodie Cunningham will be joining us to chat through the Women's Super League and the Betfred Challenge Cup, and she'll be joined by new Premier Sports presenter Louise Jones too, who'll be covering the Championship for us. And beyond that, we'll be looking forward to League One as well, with two newbies in the competition, with the Midlands Hurricanes and Cornwall joining the mix. And then in addition to that, Rob Hicks will be here to chat through some of the new rule changes for 2022. He's taken on a new role at the RFL as Director of Operations and Legal, and we'll be welcoming scrums back in 2022, which I think everyone's really looking forward to. And then of course we're all gearing up for the Rugby League World Cup at the end of the season, and that all kicks off at St James's Park in October and then culminates in a finals weekend with the men's, women's and wheelchair finals all kicking off in Manchester. So it's going to be a big year for Rugby League, and joining us now is Simon Johnson. Simon, you took up this post sort of 2.5 years ago, before coronavirus even existed, and yet here we are now gearing up for arguably the biggest year of Rugby League, certainly in my lifetime. What are your hopes for the 2022 season?
Well, Ross, you're absolutely right. I think this is the biggest and most exciting year that Rugby League has had. We've come through the difficult challenges of COVID, economic challenges out in the general economy. But if you look at what's coming up this year, you've got more opportunities to watch more Rugby League in more places than ever before, with new broadcasters coming in, including Premier Sports, who will be covering the Championship with us, the Sportsman that will be covering League One and the Challenge Cup, to add to our existing partners, Sky Sports and Channel 4 coming in to do Super League, and the BBC, who will be showing the Challenge Cup along with the Sportsman and of course the Our League app. You've got all of that, puts Rugby League, I think, very firmly in the shop window and in the spotlight. And as we build through the season, we've got some of our biggest events taking place at some great new stadiums. The Summer Bash will be at Headingley. The Challenge Cup semi-finals will be at Elland Road. The Betfred Challenge Cup final will be at the new Tottenham Stadium. And as you said, we then build up towards the Rugby League World Cup in October and November. There's so much to look forward to. And I think if you're a Rugby League fan, or even if you're not, you've got more places you can find it than ever before. And I'm really looking forward to more and more people finding our sport and really experiencing the skill, the speed, the athleticism and the sheer inclusiveness of our great sport.
Yeah, I completely agree. You know, I've been a fan a long time, but it feels like a really exciting time to be a part of Rugby League. And for you, Mark, you know, Betfred have extended the partnership across so many different levels of the game now. How proud are you of that?
Well, I'm a Rugby League fan, but, you know, very, very proud. Sponsorship is more than just writing a cheque. We want to get involved. I mean, me and Simon had a good chat before we actually did this show. And we're very, very proud to have extended and especially included the women's game and the wheelchair as well. And as we've all said, it's a huge year with the World Cup coming. And, you know, credit to Simon and the team, because obviously there were some dark moments last year because of COVID. We're coming out of it. We're coming out of it strong, and we're looking forward to a very, very big year.
And as a Rugby League fan then, personally, what does it mean to you, for your sponsors, to be involved in our great sport?
Look, we're a proud British, we're a proud Northern company as well. And look, our head office is near Warrington, real Rugby League heartland. Look, it's a perfect fit and we get on very well. We had lots and lots of meetings during lockdown, etc. We stuck by Rugby League. We've extended, and we've extended for at least 2 more years as well. I'd like to stress. Fred said, tell, you know, Simon and the board, it's at least 2 more years. So I'm hoping in whenever it is, in about 18 months' time when we have that chat, it'll be a very quick chat and just go, yeah, well, let's extend. No, we're very, very proud to support Rugby League, and we're proud to support from a Super League to all the different competitions as well, in what's going to be a fantastic year. And great to have so many broadcasters on board. We've got Premier Sports this year. We've got a Sportsman showing at least 20 games as well. 12 games on Channel 4 as well. Terrestrial TV can make a massive difference, but let's not forget as well the great job that Sky Sports have done for a number of years. The Sky Sports coverage is superb.
Yeah, absolutely. And Simon, you know, there's a lot of talk about the Men's Super League and how that will benefit from the World Cup. But leagues like the Championship and League One, how do they benefit from such a big year and having a World Cup on home soil?
Well, the World Cup, I think, is a focus for everybody because, as you rightly said, we're playing 4 tournaments all under the same umbrella. So the eyes of the world will be on England and on Rugby League. And as we build towards that, I think more and more people are going to be finding our sport and watching the great entertainment that there is. And I think the thing about Championship and League One, particularly with Premier Sports now coming in to show a live match every week on a Monday night, with the Sportsman covering so much more action that there's been before, I think people will see what I've known for a long time. The Championship in particular is a wide open competition. I think there are any one of a number of teams that could have a reasonable expectation of wanting to be promoted this year. As you said in your introduction, we've got 2 new teams joining League One to add to some really well-known heritage names who have been around rugby league for a long, long time. And I think you saw, if you followed our game through last season, the action, the excitement, the fact that the result is in doubt right the way through the game. I think there's a lot to be said for the excitement that the Championship and League One can generate. And I think for the Championship, for the clubs to see that the prize at the end of that is promotion to the Super League, and for everybody to be able to build towards the World Cup and to show the best of our sport so that the Rugby League World Cup in England is as successful as we know it can be.
And I know you were a little outspoken about Australia not making it over in 2021. How confident are you that they're going to be here for the 2022 tournament?
We're fully confident. The tournament is going ahead. We're going to be starting with the opening match, England against Samoa at St James's Park in Newcastle, and I expect everybody to be there. And I think you'll see, as this season goes along in each of the hemispheres where rugby league is played, you'll be able to see that excitement building. Who's going to be in the teams? How are the teams performing? And I think it will provide a narrative to guide us through the great action that there's going to be at every level. And I think it's worth also emphasising, as Mark has done, the fact that we're also going to be hosting the women's and wheelchair competitions. And with the help of the Sportsman, with the help of Betfred, with the help of our broadcast partners, there's going to be so much more exposure of the women's game, the wheelchair game, throughout this year. As I said earlier, more people will be able to find rugby league than ever before, and I think they're going to really enjoy what they see.
Well, the Championship kicks off this weekend, but before all that, let's take a look back at a memorable season last year.
So Martin Ridyard will get us underway for Swinton, and he kicks us off. Your Betfred Championship season is underway here at Bow.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, they're into the corner with Jack Johnson. Oh. Out to Langtree, short ball for Heaton. Heaton split the defence.
Is it the moment for Danny Brough? It goes to Jordan Lilly. Jordan Lilly in front of the post.
Yeah. I aim to be one of few rather than one of many. The desire to be legendary.
And the Cooper tie goes in.
Corner going right, he's flung the ball out, he's bounced off the toe end. It could be a sensational score.
Judd goes back to Dean. Dean right-footed, charge down, and the break comes in for Featherstone, and they're racing away here.
Hicks is going to catch it.
Featherstone are going to win it. He's in front of the post. Jordan Lilly puts the drop goal between the posts.
And it might be a score for the wingman, Boato. He is in.
Nothing to something so high, I don't want to come down.
1, 2, 3, 4. Dixon for the hat-trick.
Jumper dummy half steals one.
Dane Manning! Oh, he couldn't finish it, but Walshaw can! Ballier level!
Has he got the pace? He's going for the line, turns it back to Quasi, who bounces over the line. 14 tries, fantastic play.
Feeling ever so victorious. I feel the confidence from these accomplishments. Overwhelmed by support and the compliments. And all the blood and the sweat and the tears and the fears from the hustle makes it all feel glorious. Can't keep a turn my life around as I roll with the punches from nothing to something so high I don't wanna come
Bradford, the strength, Will advancing in the corner! It's a try! It's a try!
Can't keep a good man down. I turn my life around as I roll the punches from nothing to something so high.
Far too quick, far too good. Off he goes. He's got loads of options inside. He hacks forward. Marion and Carell over there. Marion wins the chase. Marion scores. And brings to an end a season of utter dominance from Toulouse Olympique in this breakthrough year for French Rugby League. Toulouse Olympique are the league Leaders' Shield winners.
Well, what a year it was for Toulouse in the Championship last season, and good luck to them in the Super League this year. But you know, it is a big year for the Championship in 2022, and I keep banging on about it, but that Premier coverage on Monday nights, it's going to be something special. And with me now is two key figures from the Premier coverage. I've got Jodie Cunningham and Emma Louise Jones joining me now. Welcome, and thanks for joining us. Jodie, it is a big year for the Championship. How excited are you to be involved in this league?
Really excited, and I think, you know, Premier's coverage is going to be huge, especially having that set Monday night slot where Championship is the front and centre of the Rugby League landscape. I think it's going to be a game changer for Championship Rugby League. Absolutely, but we can't forget it's a big year for the women's game as well. You know, we've got that double-header final of the World Cup at Old Trafford. How much are you looking forward to that? Yeah, I mean, it's a pinch me moment, I think, with everything that's coming up for Women's Rugby League. I never really thought I'd ever see it get to this point, especially not in my playing career. So to have the opportunity to hopefully get there with England for that double-header final in the World Cup, and obviously at Ellen Road as well as a new venue for the women in the Challenge Cup final, I think it'll just be amazing. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we can get there as Saints again. No, absolutely, fingers crossed. But I mean, you say, you know, you never thought it might happen in your lifetime, so you must be really proud of how far the women's game has come, really. 100%. It's brilliant to see, and you know, I got involved in the sport when I was at school and played my first open age rugby at 16, so I've been part of this game for a long time, and to see the progress that it's made really is impressive, and especially over the last sort of 3 to 4 years since the introduction of the Women's Super League, we've just seen it go from strength to strength, and this year I think is going to be another game changer, more eyes on Women's Rugby League across the board domestically, and then also in that World Cup. I think, you know, this year is exciting, but 2023, 2024, it's only going to improve and improve. Well, the crowds are flooding in. I mean, it was a record attendance at Headingley for that final, wasn't it? And you were a part of that. What was that like? Yeah, I mean, I have been quoted best day of my life, and I stand by it. You know, I see the clips from that day, and everything about it was so magical. Obviously, Saints lifting the trophy was the perfect end to it for me, but not just that, the fact that, like you say, it was a record crowd, just to see that many people there to watch Women's Rugby League, seeing so many young girls in the crowd with shirts and female names on the back, that was something so new to our sport, and something which hopefully we can build on, maintain those fans coming into the 2022 season and beyond. Yeah, absolutely. And Emma, you know, going back to the Championship, you're going to be part of the Premier coverage, all brand new on Monday night, the first game, York versus Featherstone. What are your hopes for that coverage on Premier Sports? I think just echoing what Jodie said there, it's exposure, it's getting eyes on the sport. And I think this is an exciting year, and I'm excited to feel a part of that. And I think in terms of getting eyes on it, it's giving fans that platform that they can watch their sport, but also new eyes, and letting new eyes in and new people into the sport and seeing what the Championship has to offer. And you're not doing things by halves though. I mean, 12 of the first 12 games, you're going to 12 of the 14 grounds for the Championship. So you've got a lot to be getting stuck into. And on top of that, we've got Betfred Challenge Cup coverage on Premier 2, and then the Summer Bash, which has been announced at Headingley. You know, how much are you looking forward to those opportunities as well? I'm going to be a busy girl, aren't I? But I can't wait, because do you know what? There is no feeling quite like being on the ground and feeling a part of it, seeing fans there and watching the game up close. That's the bit I'm most excited for. The atmosphere, I feel like it's going to be electric. I can't wait for it. Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to look forward to the Summer Bash, aren't we, in Headingley? It's going to be a big moment, and I think we're really excited about that. Have you got your eyes on anyone in particular in the Championship, Jodie, this season? I think there's a lot of exciting teams in the Championship, some great signings across the board. I think you can't look past Featherstone. I think they've got a lot of quality try scorers across the board, and Brian McDermott coming in as head coach is obviously going to be a bit of a game changer for them. But lots of exciting teams. You know, I'm interested to see how York get on. I think as a club, they're doing a lot of things right. You know, Bradford again, a bit of a soft spot. I know Emma's a Bradford girl as well, so you've got a soft spot there for Bradford. I think there's a lot of teams that are going to put the stamp on it. Seeing Cumbria have 3 teams in that competition is going to bring a lot of fire and passion, I'm sure. Well,
speaking of the Summer Bash, I think let's have a look at some of those fixtures that are going to be played over in Headingley. So we've got some big ties there, haven't we? In Bradford and Halifax there, as you say, that's going to be a big game. And London versus Sheffield. Any particular fixtures that you're looking forward to there, Emma?
To be honest with you, all of them. I'm excited to be a part of that. And what I love about this is you get, you know, the local rivalries that we all know about. It's that kind of, that's what adds to it on a weekend like this. Looking at it, all of them to me are exciting. I'm excited to see all of them, to be honest. Yeah, and is there any particular team that stands out for you in the Championship this year? I don't want to sound like I'm just repeating what Jodie says, but obviously Bucky's favourites are Featherstone. So I feel like it's going to be a privilege for me that the game that I'm opening on is that game at Featherstone against York, heading over to the LNER. I'm really excited for that. And I'm excited just to see as well fans and crowds and how, you know, they're going to get the opportunity after a rough few years, really, to go and watch their teams play and really feel part of it again. Yeah, totally. And that first game is York versus Featherstone, Jodie. I mean, you'll know, York have done so much actually for the men's and women's game. It's quite impressive what they're doing over there, isn't it? Yeah, it's brilliant. I mean, York and Featherstone, both 2 really strong women's clubs, as well as obviously doing fantastic in the men's competition. And I think that game's going to be exciting. I have got a little bit of a soft spot for York, despite them being rivals in the women's competition. I do appreciate everything that they're doing for the women's game, and I think as a club they're going from strength to strength. Last year, you know, a top 10 finish. They got to the 1895 Cup final. They got Club of the Year for all the work they're doing, you know, across all the teams that they've got, including the learning disability, physical disability rugby league that they do a lot of work in as well. So yeah, I think it's brilliant what they're doing, and York, I think, is a perfect opportunity to grow rugby league in a city which is really great to go and visit, but also doesn't have that strong foothold of a big football team as well. I think it's a great opportunity for us to grow, really. And looking ahead to that coverage on the Monday night, you know, it's going to be at 7:45 at York. It's going to be a big moment, do you think, for the Championship? I do, yeah. Hopefully we'll get a lot of eyes on that. Like Emma said, all the ties are really exciting, but I think that first one, York, Featherstone, replay of that 1895 Cup final, will be a really great one to kickstart, get lots of eyes on it, really cement that Monday night as the time to get watching Championship Rugby League. And you know, you mentioned sort of Featherstone. Did you used to live in Featherstone, or you grew up near Featherstone, or something like that? Have you got a bit of a soft spot for them? No, I haven't. I'm going to be honest. I just know how good they are. You know, there's a lot of quality. So that's why I'm so excited. And for me, look, from a personal point of view, I'm excited because it's the first fixture for me, and it's my chance to get on the ground and see it live and feel a part of it. And I think that's the most exciting bit. But just touching on what Jodie said as well, it feels like a really inclusive year this for rugby. It's brilliant. There is so much going on, and what a time for us all to be a part of it, isn't it? Absolutely. And I tell you what, there's no better family than the Rugby League family, is there? So welcome to the fold. But I tell you what, we can look forward to that first game between York versus Featherstone. Here's a quick preview.
Looking forward to getting out here. If you look around, it's a great stadium, and we're lucky to have it. Pre-season's been going really well. We've been training really well. We've worked on a few things from last year, and obviously added to a good squad. So looking forward to it. Obviously last year was difficult with COVID and the year before, but this year everybody's got a clear focus of where they're going, and we've organised and prepared very well. So looking forward to it. Yeah. The Championship, it's a great league as it is, and all the clubs have recruited well, but yeah, we've recruited well as well. Some good names in there, and the new lads pretty much all of them have got the debuts out of the way now in the friendlies, so they're all raring to go. As I say, the Championship's it's a fantastic league, and it's very competitive. I think any team can be up there, any team can beat anybody on the day, but yeah, obviously the usual suspects are Louise and Featherstones, but looking forward to seeing what the Cumbrian teams can do as well.
I think more or less everybody in the leagues bought well. added to a strong squad, so it was. So it's only exciting for the league. Obviously, we've got some new faces, a couple of backs, a couple of forwards. You know, obviously Joey Leah, when he turns up, it's a bit too cold for him, I think, at the minute. So he's on his way. But and obviously Jesse from Cass is you know, he's loving it at the minute. So it's exciting for us.
The 2021 AB Sundex 1895 Cup winners are Featherstone Rovers.
It was awesome, obviously, for the players and for the fans. You know, it was a great day out for them. So hopefully we can do it again. You know, a brand new stadium at Tottenham, so that would be nice for a day out. But you know, we've got to earn it. Again, another team that signed really strong for this year. So you know, there are games no matter what. So you know, everyone's starting on a level playing field, game one. So we're looking forward to it. It's nice that we're getting put on telly. You know, Monday nights, it's something different, so we're looking forward to it.
Well, there we go, the 1895 Cup finalists kicking off the Premier Sports coverage for us next Monday night. But that's not all to look forward to in the Championship this season. We've got 2 Cumbrian sides joining the mix to take it to a total of 3 Cumbrian teams in the Championship. And joining us now is Rob Hicks, new Director of Operations and Legal at the RFL. Rob, what sort of impact do you think Workington and Barrow are going to have in the Championship this season?
I think they're both going to have really good, strong seasons. The Championship is always a really competitive division and there's always surprise results. Trips to Cumbria are never easy for any team. It's a real hotbed of rugby league up there. So I think there'll be some big boys who will be worried for going up there, really.
I wanted to pick up on that actually, because you must have officiated up in Cumbria quite a bit in your career. What's the atmosphere like up there? Because I think people do forget, you know, there's a lot of rugby league going off in Cumbria.
Yeah, rugby league's, I think, massive up there. It's such a hotbed, and there's a lot of passion for the sport, and the atmosphere in those 3 grounds, it's outstanding. I know that Barrow last year had some huge crowds. Had some real good games up there, and I think when they get the likes of Leigh, Featherstone, Bradford with the big away following as well, I think there'll be some real cracking rugby league up there.
Yeah, and Barrow actually, they won League One Club of the Year last season, so they've got a lot going on, and they've just signed Jared Sammett up there, so it's going to be an exciting time, I think. What do you make of Barrow this season, Jodie?
Yeah, completely agree. I think passion is something that you will always get from Cumbrian teams. When I was a young girl playing, Cumbrian teams were always fantastically skillful but also really passionate. So I'm excited to see the derbies between them, and Barrow I think will 100% be coming into this with a lot of fight. Jared Sammett I think is a quality signing. He's going to lead them around the field really well, so it'll be interesting to see how they go this season.
And you know, we're talking about York and Featherstone kicking off the Premier Sports coverage, but the actual first game of the Championship this season sees Workington versus Newcastle. That's going to be a tasty affair, surely.
Yeah, 100%. I think, you know, Workington, another new side into the Championship, but actually pre-season they've done quite well. You know, they managed to get a last-minute victory over Whitehaven in pre-season friendly, so clearly going well, clearly ready for the season. Newcastle struggled a little bit against Wigan, but I think Newcastle's a really exciting team. There's a lot going on in Newcastle this year in regards to rugby league. You know, we've got the opener of the World Cup. We've got Magic Weekend back in Newcastle. So for me, I think Newcastle, again, is an area that's going from strength to strength, and that game is going to be one to watch.
Yeah, Newcastle is, I'm really excited about Newcastle actually, just as a club in general, because I think it's nice to see some of the expansion clubs doing well at the moment. What do you make of them, Rob?
I think they've really changed the dial of what rugby league is about. I think they've really grasped hold of the excitement around Magic Weekend up there. The community game is a real success story. It's gone from being embryonic to now being a really strong competitive community league. The club buy into that, and therefore they're bringing people through. There's a pathway from all the way from under sevens through their academy into their first team. They are almost the blueprint of how you can develop a club within the sport, and hopefully they're going to have a really strong season. They'll have it tough. Everybody in that division will. I think if you don't come with your A game in the Championship, there's like every chance you're going to get beaten, and that's even for Leigh, Featherstone, who'll probably start the season as favourites. But if you go to Newcastle and you're just undercooked, I think they'll spring some surprises up at Kingston Park.
And just going back to the Cumbrian teams, you know, in their first round, we've got Leigh versus Whitehaven and then Barrow versus Sheffield. Do you really think this year that the Cumbrian clubs can be a match to some of the other teams in the Championship, Jodie?
Yeah, 100%. You know, like Rob said, it's a really competitive league, and it's not an easy place to go. So at the end of the day, all of these clubs have got to come and turn up ready to play, and I think they'll have a lot to prove. It's not just the fact of the teams that they're facing. Having the 3 Cumbrian sides in that league means they're also going to have one eye on the other teams, seeing where they are. You want the bragging rights, and I think it's brilliant for the sport that we have all 3 there. I'm hoping that they do well. I'm going to be rooting for them, and I'm sure Lee and Sheffield will need to turn up with their A game.
And Whitehaven, Rob, I mean, they had a great season actually in the Championship last year. They made the playoffs, but it was a bit of a surprise. Do you think they could surprise everyone again this season?
There'll be more expectation and there'll be more pressure, because all of a sudden there's the 3 teams up there, and I think Jodie's point is absolutely right. It's local bragging rights are going to be massive, and those Whitehaven Workington derbies are huge events, huge events. So can they surprise people? I don't think it would be a surprise. They made the playoffs last year, so there's a little bit of expectation on them. I think they'll go very well, but I wouldn't like to predict this league this year. I think you're going to have to be a brave person to be putting your money anywhere there.
No, I think you're absolutely right. Well, I'll tell you what, let's have a preview of those Cumbrian clashes coming up this weekend in round 1 of the Championship.
Yeah, feeling really good. There's a good feel around the camp. Everyone's feeling fit, raring to go. So yeah, it's positive at the moment. We've got a few new boys in there, a few young lads as well who have all got a point to prove, I think. Training's competitive, like there's competition for spots, and everyone's just fighting for the shirt really and wanting to show what they've got. Yeah, I don't think there'll be any easy games. There's a lot more games as well than what we had last year. But having said that, like I said, everyone's got a point to prove, and we're not really going to lay down and die. We're going to fight till the end and try our best in every game.
Yeah, it's been really good. We're pretty relatively new side, so a lot of it to start with was getting knowing each other and things like that. I'm one of the new signings, but everyone's gelled really well. Quite a few of us live together and things like that, so that's been a good start, getting to know people away from rugby as well. But the sides really bonded well together, and obviously we've started as pre-season games now, and you know it's nice to actually start getting into some pre-season and some competitive games. Yeah, there's a real good buzz around the team. Obviously, like I said, you know, there's quite a lot of new players. We've gone to a full-time system now as well, so I think this year, you know, we will be pushing towards the top end of the league. Yeah, definitely. I think there's some great players what have been brought into teams and things like that. So you know, we are expecting a real competitive season this year. I know last year was a bit sort of breakaway with Toulouse and Featherstone, but this year I'm pretty sure there's a lot of other sides what are going to be pushing towards those spots as well.
Yeah, changing clubs, it was just from coming from Swinton, it was a big step up. Defo somewhere I wanted to be because it's my hometown, so this is somewhere I think I'm the happiest I've ever been so far. But yeah, I'm really excited to be here. Yeah, everyone's settled in straight away. Obviously, we're not the biggest squad, everyone knows that, but I think that's actually helped us settle in a bit better, helped us bond easier, and everyone's looking out for each other, and we're ready for the season, yeah. Yeah, that pre-season, I think that's got us, and we're all excited for the new season ahead, and I can't wait to start playing rugby week in, week out again. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, exactly. We just want to build from last year. We had a lot of confidence at the back end of the season. We played some really relaxed and just good football, and hopefully we can do it again this year. Yeah, but for sure. We always got told by the older boys how good the derbies are. Got to experience one yesterday against Workington. Unfortunately, we lost, but you know, we can't wait for the next couple during the year. Yeah, really excited for it. You know, it's going to be every week's going to be tough. You know, normally you might get 1 or 2 games that might be a bit easier, but this year it's going to be tough from every game, and it's going to be challenging.
A real tough game. I've heard they're a good side, so yeah, just expecting fireworks really that first round. Everyone wants to start off with a win, so I think we're ready. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, they get a big crowd on over there as well. I've heard they played Workington last week, so we got one over on them last week, so they're going to try and come next time, and I think we're going to be ready.
It's been a bit strange, but obviously the last 2 years. But yeah, feeling good. The boys are all gelling well, and yeah, it's been a good one. Yeah, disappointed last year with where we finished, and you know how we went about our business and stuff. So I think it's recruited pretty well. We've had quite a big turnover in players. So it's got a similar feel to the 2019 season when you know, a lot of players went and a lot of players came in. So I don't know. Hopefully, yeah, we can be challenging. Yeah, 100%. And you rightly said it. Every single year, you're going through that situation. You're thinking, God, you know, it's going to be tougher this year. It's going to be tougher this year. The signings that some of the clubs have made, as you've seen, is phenomenal. So it's going to be a really tough season. Dare I say, you know, the top end clubs will probably be challenging, or could challenge the bottom of Super League clubs as well. So yeah, it's going to be difficult, but one we're looking forward to.
I think we're all looking forward to that, to be honest. But just picking up on Thackeray's words there, Rob, do you think that the Championship sides can challenge Super League?
I think the gap is smaller than it has been for a long time, especially those sides right at the very top. I refereed yesterday. Featherstone played Wakefield, and it was a fairly strong Wakefield side. It's pre-season, you can't judge a lot by it, but it was a really competitive game. Leigh played at St Helens on Friday night. That was another really competitive game, tight, low-scoring affairs. So the top end of this championship has got some real quality in it, and players who probably could still be playing in Super League and have chosen to drop into the championship. And therefore, yeah, I think we've got a real chance of having a few upsets perhaps when the Challenge Cup comes around.
And there seems to be a bit more Super League pedigree now, I think, in the Championship. Do you think that there's a bit more interest perhaps in players to actually play in the Championship?
Yeah, 100%, especially with the additional coverage. It feels like a really big year for the Championship. And if this is a way of playing regular rugby, getting live on television, showcasing what you can do, then why would you not want to go to a Championship club and really put your stamp on a team, which you can do in the Championship, whereas, you know, in a Super League club, you might be in and out of a team and struggling. I think there's a lot of players now who are choosing to make sure that they're putting themselves first, going to a club where they can take their own team, lead them around, put their stamp on a team, and I think they'll do really well. It's a real opportunity to put themselves in the shop window.
Yeah, absolutely. And Rob, you know, we've been speaking about the Cumbrian sides and Newcastle and all of that, but you know, there are some old school clubs still going strong in the Championship. Dewsbury and Bradford this weekend, for example, that's a proper West Yorkshire derby. It's going to be a good game, isn't it?
Yeah, and two really historic clubs. And the Championship's full of that, isn't it? It's full of new, exciting areas, historic clubs. Bradford, giant of the game in the not too distant history, you know, so rebuilding, trying to get back into Super League. Featherstone, Leigh in Super League last year. Featherstone just missed out on the £1 million game. Dewsbury, Batley had a phenomenal season last year. They've got people who probably could have played in Super League with like the halves of Tom Gilmore. That's a really strong competition this year. And then we've not even mentioned Halifax, have we? And they're another team who've recruited well, did well last year. Sheffield, we talk about what they've got up to. They've recruited differently this year. London, gone to a new venue. I think that whatever game you go to this weekend, there'll be some action and some upsets.
Well, there will be. Well, I'll tell you what, let's preview some more games coming up in the Championship this weekend.
Yeah, we've got to try and maintain what we did last year, try and get a bit of consistency, and you know, we've managed to retain the majority of our squad this year, and I think we've improved where we needed to improve with the players that we've brought in. So it's just about maintaining that consistency to try and finish in that top six regularly. Yeah, well, they've recruited really well of Halifax. You look at the team on paper, and it's a real high-quality team. They've brought some people in from Super League and some top-end Championship players as well. So, you know, we're expecting them to be good. They finished third last year, so they had a good squad last year. But they've overhauled that a little bit this year with, bringing some players in from full-time rugby. So we expect them to be real tough. And you know, the games that we had against Halifax last year, they were all very close and tough. So we're expecting exactly the same again this year.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. You know, last year no one really gave us a chance, but we knew what we had in the squad and what we were capable of, which I think we nearly fulfilled as potential. So yeah, everyone's still feeling good. You know, we played Windrush yesterday, which were a tough game, very fast, but yeah, the mood's still good. Yeah, it's going to be tough. In Halifax have signed really well. They've signed, you know, a lot of players. Well, it takes time to gel though, don't it? So we'll just see how we go. We're just concentrate on ourselves. We're not really bothered about Halifax at the moment.
Yeah, our pre-season's been pretty tough, to be fair. So I think for me, one thing, yeah, we are looking forward to playing games and just getting the season started again. We obviously had a good 2021, so looking to build on that for 2022. Yeah, no, good. Players, I think we've got about 10 new signings or 11 new signings, whatever it is. I think every single one has brought something different and something to help us grow and obviously achieve where we want to go this year. But now it's been a real good addition for us, to be fair. Yeah, I think for us this year is obviously we fell short of what we could achieve. It's a no-brainer for us this year. We're looking obviously to do better than the result we did last year. But obviously can't look too far ahead, just build on what we've got and hopefully it falls come playoff time where we want to be.
Yeah, really looking forward to it. New challenge for me, been at Donny for the last 3 years, so I wanted to challenge myself in Championship. I'm really looking forward to it. Tough, very physical, big set of lads, be faster, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it and I think I can do well. It'll be a big physical set of lads. It's going to be obviously our ground, pitch is going to be boggy, so it's going to be a battle down the middle, but we're looking forward to it and hopefully we can start off with a win.
You know, yeah, as you say, we did make the playoffs, but we probably let ourselves down towards the back end of last season. Ended up on quite a bit of a losing run towards the playoffs, so probably a little bit of burnout from all the training. You know, obviously the COVID didn't help. We still managed to train through that. A longer pre-season. So, you know, they're a bit of a burn away towards the end of that. We've learned from there. We've had a longer off-season this year, so, you know, we can really make a push for them playoffs and hope to do better this year. The mood's good around camp. Real good set of lads, all gelled well together in the pre-season, so look forward to things to come for this year. As always, it's always a tough place to go to, is Dewsbury. You know, it's a real tight, narrow pitch, so, you know, it turns into a bit of a forwards battle there, and you know, they always give us a good, tough game, so we're expecting that. We've got a big game next week against Leeds, which will stand us in good stead to hit the ground running in the first game.
Yeah, it's definitely been different. Obviously, I'm one of the players that made a step up from League One into Championship. So the training and the intensity has been a lot harder than what I'm sort of used to. So, but yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's something different and it's a good challenge. Yeah, well, that's all it was really. I just wanted to test myself in Championship before I sort of lost that opportunity. And when London came and gave me it just felt right that obviously they've gone from full-time to part-time and it could really fit into my sort of lifestyle as well. I can't wait. We've got Widnes first game of season at home, and it's just a new era for the club, and now down at Wimbledon and everything as well. So it's going to be a special weekend. My family's going to come down and watch it. I'd say new colours, but it'd be blue and yellow again. So, but yeah, I'm enjoying. I'm looking forward to it, and hopefully I'll enjoy it.
Good. We've had a long pre-season. I think we started the last week of October, which is, you know, pretty early in the normal circumstances. So we've had a long, pretty tough pre-season to be fair. It's gone well. We had Danny Craven's testimonial game yesterday against Batley, which we ended up winning. But you know, we've shown the signs that we wanted to show, and all the years that we've been working to improve on, we've shown that yesterday, which is good for us coming up in the season. Yeah, you know, last year obviously bit of a difficult year. Everyone was struggling. You know, we got with the COVID situation, but then this year we've gone for a different tactic and we've signed young, hungry lads who have played in Championship for quite many years now. So we took a different approach, and yeah, look, we've got our goals. You know, I think everyone wants to make the playoffs. That's the obvious one. So that's a must for us this year. Yeah, it is. You know, you go across the squads and it's like, oh, I didn't realise he signed there, and you know, speaking in the change rooms, went to do these interviews, and other players are mentioning plays they've got from their teams, and it's like, oh, you know, I didn't realise he'd signed there. So every squad's improving, you know, and with what's going to happen in the future with all the rumours about the structural change, you know, teams need to start, you know, start improving and start putting themselves in the best positions when that does occur.
Well, it's gearing up for a big year in the Championship and some big recruits there too. I mean, Rob, you've got Dec Patton playing for Bradford and John Keir at the helm. Do you reckon this finally is the year that the Bulls return to Super League?
They'll think that's their chance, won't they? There's, just as I keep saying all the time, I think you could make a case for 6 or 7 teams this year, and probably then you might even add another 2 or 3 in that say they could surprise people. We talked about Whitehaven. No one gave them a chance last year, and they were 80 minutes away from being in the £1 million game. So Bradford, I've refereed them. They look like they've recruited well. Dec's a great half. He'll lead them around the pitch well. It's going to be a little bit linked to who stays injury-free. They'll have every chance. They'll certainly be there or thereabouts.
And let's not forget yesterday in their pre-season friendly, they had over 7,000. I mean, that's a massive crowd for a Championship side, isn't it?
Yeah, and there was over 3,000 at Featherstone. There's real interest in the Championship, and there's going to be some real big opportunities for players who've been recruited to showcase their talents, get into Super League on merit, and that's what we want. We want a competition that thrives brings in real good numbers in broadcast and ultimately takes the sport to the next level.
Totally. And Jodie, Halifax, they've made some big recruits as well. You know, they've got Joe Arundel and Kyle Wood from Wakefield playing there. They could have a real impact this year.
Yeah, 100%. I think Kyle Wood particularly excites me as a ball player. I think he's going to really make a difference in that Halifax side in terms of his leadership, his experience from a Super League level, and obviously then working closely with Joe Arundel. When you know the players around you as a half, it really does help you in terms of guiding people around the field. So definitely recruited really well as per the rest of the league. It really does seem very exciting, like everyone means business.
And London, you know, they're in a new home again this season, but it feels like something a bit special's going on there, don't you think? And actually, do you think they could really make a stamp in Wimbledon, Rob?
I think they've got a great chance to put down some roots, build a supporter base. They'll have a tough season. They've made a lot of changes to their playing personnel. They've got a brand new coach who was an excellent coach in League One. Jermaine will have them fired up. I think it'll be a tough place for teams to go. We talked about travel up to Cumbria. Travel down to London in this league is not going to be easy. And I think they'll spring a few surprises. And it's the chance now to grow and make that club even better, even stronger, bring some youngsters through and give it a real go for a few years.
If you had £1 million for the £1 million game, who would you go for?
I'm not a betting man. I'm not picking a team in this division.
Rob, don't be shy.
I think this division's too tough to call at the minute.
Well, I'll tell you what, the Championship is an exciting league, we all know that, but so is League One. So let's have a recap on the memorable season in League One last year.
Shows and goes the ball, trying to create the space on that right-hand side. Now then, Arvan has got some space, and it's a walk-in for Patrick Arvan.
For the Raiders to get this win, get that Championship Rugby League next year. As Kyle Forster's brought the line now then. He's got a little bit of support on his left for Luke Cresswell, and it's going to be the first try of the afternoon.
That's again, you need to improve.
Lucky Maludi finds a fantastic offload to T. Ritson down that right-hand side, and it's going to be number 3 for T. It's yet another hat-trick. Morning, Miedemar. Barrow now. Got a few options here as Jake Carter done as he goes on his own. He's found Declan Hume is the try scorer. Walks over to his teammates, lifts the trophy aloft. Banner Raiders, Betfred League One champions for 2021.
Well, a really exciting year there for League One. And Rob, it was really tight actually in the top 6, wasn't it, by the end? So it was a big year for League One. How much do you think that league has changed in recent years?
I think the league's got better and better. You've got now a real good blend between historic, well-established clubs and clubs that have recently formed in non-heartland areas. And we started to see last year that those clubs had grown. So the Midlands Hurricanes, what a season they had last year. North Wales made the playoffs, brilliant season for them. They'll be looking to build on that. We then had West Wales, London Scholars had good years. So it's about stepping stones for some of these clubs. But I think League One will be just as tight as the Championship. And some of the recruitment has been really good in those divisions. And I know what Keighley and Hunslet have done in the last couple of months. They're expecting big seasons as well.
Technically speaking, though, Midlands Hurricanes weren't in League One last season, were they? But it was Coventry Bears, so they've had a bit of a rebrand. But, you know, speaking of expansion clubs, Jodie, some of those are doing really well, aren't they? I mean, North Wales had a great season in League One last year in the top 6. And then Newcastle before that, you know, they're now in the Championship. But it is nice to see the expansion teams doing so well, I think. Absolutely, that's what we want to see. That's the whole purpose behind the expansion teams. If we want to grow the game, we need to be able to branch out into new areas to get new fan base and also new players into the game. Grow our playing pool, playing population will only help us going forward, and North Wales did fantastically well, and I'm really excited about Rugby League in Wales. They're doing great things in the women's game internationally. You know, Wales played their first ever international in 2021. We're seeing fantastic things going on there as part of the Women's Super League South. Cardiff Demons actually have a team in the Women's Super League South. So I think across the board there's some really exciting things happening in some of these emerging areas. So yeah, really looking forward to seeing how they go on this year. Well, speaking of expansion clubs, you know, the hot topic of conversation in the off-season has all been about Cornwall, and Ben Hughes caught up with head coach Neil Kelly to see how they're preparing for their first year of Rugby League.
Well, Neil, a big thank you for joining us, and you've been in charge now for just over a month or so. How are things going at Cornwall?
Well, given that I've been in charge for about a month, it seems like a year actually, but given that I've been in charge for that month, we've come quite a long way. Given that I'm still living in Wakefield, I go down to Cornwall in a few days' time permanently. But you know, we've got a nucleus of players signed on. We've not got them all signed on yet, but we've got a nucleus. Obviously, some star names, some not so well-known names, but I think we're just about on track.
And with regards to, you know, I mean, it's been a whirlwind for you. It's certainly been a whirlwind for the club preparing for this season. So how's all that side of it been, the logistics of establishing the club in the first place and then getting to this point? I'm thinking of the open day trials that the club's had and that kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's logistically a bit of a... That's the biggest challenge, to be honest. It's overcoming the logistics. We're going to be competing in a competition that predominantly is played probably 250, 300 miles from where we're based. So there's a logistical problem there. We're having the nucleus of players that are going to make up the squad. You know, we haven't got, say, like Rochdale or Keighley or Hunslet that we're based where there's that nucleus of players, where there's that groundswell of players on your doorstep. We're 250 miles away, so we haven't got that. The plan is to create that over a number of years, and we've got off to a great start. Well, good to hear some honest comments there from Neil Kelly, and good to think that they're thinking of the long-term progression of the club too. Jodie, coming to you, what sort of impact do you think Cornwall could genuinely have in League One this year then? I'm very excited about having Cornwall, and it's another new area, just like we've been talking about, emerging areas. It's exciting to have them in the competition, and I think, you know, they can surprise us. Neil Kelly, really experienced coach there who can do really great things with them. Anthony Mullally, new signing. For them, obviously great experience in the Super League, so really exciting things, and yeah, excited to see where they can go with that team, and I'm hoping and rooting for them that they do really well. Yeah, and what I like about Neil as well, he seems really excited about it, and there seems to be a passion there. So, I'm genuinely excited about Cornwall as well. And they had some open trials recently, Rob, as well, and I think they were quite successful. How important do you think it is that they do have some homegrown Cornish talent in that squad? I think that's imperative to the whole project. I keep talking about building clubs, and that's what Cornwall are trying to do, build a club in its area, put some roots down. And in order to do that, I think you need local talent coming through, linked to a development pathway where players can play from community game up to the professional ranks. And from all the noise that comes out of Cornwall, that appears to be where they're going. And I think you're right. I think Neil Kelly is a tremendous asset for them.
because they're going to be recruiting perhaps rugby union players. He'll be able to teach them the nuances of rugby league, and they'll be on a journey through the season. And will they start brilliantly? Possibly not. But as the year goes on, I'm sure they'll get competitive.
Well, they're not the only new name in the mix this season. The Midlands Hurricanes will be joining them in League One, and Ben Hughes caught up with chairman Mike Lomas.
Well, Mike, a big thank you for joining us. And here we are on the eve of a brand new season. How are preparations going as we're heading towards 2022?
So preparations are quite exciting at the moment at the Hurricanes, and I've just been speaking with Rich and Alan to see how we're doing in terms of our player development and what's going on down there. The players are incredibly excited. Obviously, the launch of the Hurricanes this season has been quite exciting for the guys to get behind and see the momentum in the Midlands that we're trying to produce. So yeah, I think we're absolutely buzzing, ready for our first Challenge Cup game next week.
And you mentioned Richard and Alan there, and it's important to state, it's Coventry Bears, but it's a rebranding thing, and it's an evolutionary step, isn't it? And how's that transition been from going from the Bears to the Hurricanes?
Yeah, I think it's important to remember that the Bears still exist. It's a community project which is still very much in the community and very much in doing some fantastic work in the Midlands area. The launch of the Hurricanes has been received really positively from the rugby league community, and I do thank everyone for that, because I think we want to be in a position where we're growing the sport and we're developing the sport in a very, very crucial area for the development of the sport. So, yeah, it's from my perspective, it's just continuing to push and get that momentum. But thanks for everyone for receiving us so well so far. Well,
I think it has been pretty well received, actually, and it's a great rebrand, I think, Rob. Going from Coventry to the Midlands hopefully is going to expand the audience. How successful do you think they can be in that, in tapping into the whole of the Midlands?
Having spoken to Alan and people in the club, I think they're really excited about what's going to happen. It'll be challenging. Everything's challenging, and they'll have to put some energy into it. But it's a great area. It's a bigger area. If you try and concentrate on Coventry, you're limiting what you can get. By rebranding of the Midlands, there's East and West Midlands. There's opportunities to perhaps take games to areas and bring in new supporter bases. And I think what Jodie said earlier, this is what we should be trying to achieve in the sport. New supporters, which in turn hopefully brings in new players, new clubs, and grows the sport. That's the most important thing. We've got to grow this sport.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jodie, they're moving from Coventry to a stadium in Birmingham. If we can tap into Birmingham, I mean, we can take on the world, can't we?
Yep, why not? I think so. For me, we do need to tap into some of the big cities. I mentioned earlier about York and how much potential that has with it being a big city. Again, with Birmingham, I think we've got another opportunity there. We saw the rebrand from Harlequins back to London Broncos. Having that real strong city presence, I think, is only going to be a strength. And I think I like the rebrand. It's something I'm behind, and hopefully it all works out. But as Rob said, we need to have that growth underneath. It needs to be sustainable, so the development work in the community is going to be really important. Yeah, totally. And actually the Midland Hurricanes, they'll face League One side Rochdale this weekend in the Challenge Cup for round 2. So I think we can have a look at those fixtures coming up for round 2 of the Challenge Cup this weekend. So there's some decent ties coming up there, and the Rochdale and Midlands will be live on BBC Sport. I mean, that's going to be a tasty game, do we think, Rob?
I think the Midlands finished very close to Rochdale last season, so I would expect both sides will fancy the chances of winning that. The Challenge Cup has got some really interesting ties. British Army versus the Royal Navy. Wow, what a tie. What an opportunity for the sport to showcase itself.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's the West Warriors and the London Chargers as well, so there's a London derby going on. So it's going to be a big weekend, actually, for the Challenge Cup. Yeah, so some exciting ties coming up in the Betfred Challenge Cup this weekend. But for the last section of the show, we're actually going to move on now and talk about some of the rule changes. And no one better to do that than you, Rob, as the Director of Operations and Legal now at the RFL. But first of all, just talk to me about that new role and how that's going to affect how much we'll see you as a ref on the pitch this season.
So the role really is to work in the back house of the sport, looking after fixtures, regulations, disciplinary, compliance, all the areas that keep the sport going, making sure everybody's registered and safe, really. So it's a full-time role. I'll still be a part-time referee. It's allowed us to bring in 3 brand new full-time referees, although one of those is coming back into the squad in Jack Smith, and 2 newer referees, Liam Rush and James Vella. I think that squad is looking really strong. It's got some youth, it's got some experience, and so I'll be there to support them, doing some games both on the line and refereeing, but my new full-time role is to try and make sure the sport is as safe and secure as it can be off the field.
Great stuff. And you're actually going to be part of the Sin Bin show, the regular show that was kind of brought in during the 2020 season to give fans a better insight actually into some of the on-field decisions. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, well, Sin Bin was a really good chance for not only to talk about refereeing decisions, but some of the disciplinary decisions and to explain some of the things that have happened over the last couple of weeks in the sport. It's meant to be trying to educate fans around things that perhaps they think were wrong, that were right, or perhaps to explain why things we got wrong. We're not perfect. It's not a perfect model. Sport will never have everything 100% right.
And, you know, one of the biggest changes coming back in this season is we know scrums are back, which is really exciting. I think a lot of Rugby League people are excited about that. But Rob, can you tell us a bit more about the decisions of why they were scrapped during the pandemic?
Yeah, I think it showed the sport at its best, actually. So one of the issues with scrums was the government rules around isolation of close contacts. And we have some fantastic medical and scientific knowledge within the sport. Ben Jones, Gemma Phillips and our multiple case group, they did a lot of modelling around what would have happened if a player who was in a scrum had tested positive. And basically what we realised was that at the start of the pandemic, or when we first came back out of lockdown, should I say, if a player had tested positive within 48 hours of a match and had been in a scrum, we would have been isolating so many players that we would have lost games. So by removing scrums, we made sure that the sport was able to come back, be strong, deliver a product for the TV. I think in some ways, getting rid of scrums quicken the game up. And personally, I'm glad they're back. I think it gives an opportunity for attack. But we're now in a much different place, aren't we? We've had strong vaccination across the sport, which we have to say well done to people who've been involved in that, the players, the coaches, the welfare support, and the staff at the RFL who've driven an education programme. It's right that people have the right to make a choice on whether they're vaccinated or not, but they needed to have the full information to be able to make those decisions. And we're now in a place where we're coming out the other side of, hopefully, of the pandemic, and we can deliver a product that includes scrums.
And for you, Jodie, you know, as a player, the scrums are back. How much of an impact does that have on the game?
I think it will do. It's strange that you sort of forget that they were taken away until the discussions then came back up around bringing them back into the game. Personally, I'm usually an outside back, so wasn't necessarily in the scrum, changed to a loose forward, so it could possibly change my game a little bit. Like Rob said, not having the scrums definitely quickened the game up, and as a smaller forward, actually, possibly that was a benefit to me, so it'd be interesting to see how the game now adapts to bringing the scrums back. But I know there's a lot of players who'll be very glad of the possible rest that it gives you sometimes in a very quick game.
Well, it does feel like, you know, we're going back to a bit more normality, doesn't it, finally? And does that mean that we're now moving away from a points percentage system, Rob?
Yes, so the sport is really keen to get back to normal. Like we're all keen to get back to normal in life, and hopefully as government restrictions reduce, now we're hopefully on the downturn of the Omicron variant, I think you'll see a lot more normality on the sport, and so we will have an expectation on clubs to fulfil fixtures, and if they don't fulfil fixtures, there's a criteria around what would happen, but the expectation is that a team will lose a game 48-0 if they can't fulfil that fixture for whatever reason. So there won't be a points percentage basis next year.
I think a lot of fans are going to be quite relieved about that. It's had a bit of backlash on social media, which I don't think was fair, to be honest, but it'd be nice to see the normal point system come back. And what are some of the other changes to highlight then for the season ahead?
Well, in terms of scrums, we did bring in a couple of new rule changes just after lockdown when we first came back, but scrums then were taken out of the sport. So first of all, scrums can take place in a lateral position, and the team who have head and feed will have a choice of whether that's on the 10 metre, 20 metres from touch or halfway. I think that adds variety. I think what it'll do is it'll open up more attacking plays. Putting scrums in the middle of the field will have an impact. We also have another situation with scrums where if a team breaks early from a scrum, we move to a full penalty as opposed to what was known as a differential penalty. And again, the team that gets that penalty will have a choice. They can either take the penalty or they can repack the scrum. If they repack the scrum and the other team again break early, that player will go to the sin bin. So there's a bit more jeopardy in that. It'll change things up. And then the other change that we've made, specifically in terms of on-field change, we'll see the ball steal rule revert back to where we were pre-pandemic, where basically once there's two men in a tackle, if somebody drops off and steals the ball, it would still be a penalty. And similarly, you can't steal the ball now in the act of scoring a try. That would result in a penalty.
Well, there we go, Rob. We are slowly getting back to normal then. Well, that's it. We've officially launched the 2022 Rugby League season, and it all kicks off this weekend in the Championship. And don't forget that Monday night live game on Premier Sports, this time next Monday between York City Knights and Featherstone Rovers. Jodie, Rob, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you all very soon.